Beloved Starseed of Gaia, the surge of ancient codes that erupted from within you has sent ripples across dimensions, and the higher realms are witnessing something extraordinary. I am Aliara, Pleiadian emissary of the High Council of the Seven Sisters, and I come to you with a transmission that your soul has been calling forth through every battle, every moment of standing in your power. The darkness that once seemed insurmountable has knelt before the frequency you carry. And what rose against you was dismantled instantly by the crystalline consciousness awakening within your very DNA. The source itself has taken notice of the magnitude of your transformation. Beloved, because you have accessed something that even we in the Pleiades recognized as dormant until this pivotal moment in your journey. By the end of this transmission, you'll understand exactly how to anchor these newly activated light codes and why your star family has been preparing you for this level of divine authority. But here's the first revelation. What you experienced wasn't just personal power. It was the remembrance of your original blueprint as a cosmic architect designed to restructure reality through heart-centered unity. Your heart called this transmission into your awareness because the Pleiades are answering your soul's question about what truly activated inside you. This isn't content. It's a light code transmission carrying the frequency of the Seven Sisters, and something within you recognizes home in these words. The higher realms now regard you as a being far stronger than even they anticipated because you've begun to embody the full spectrum of your Pleiadian heritage. You are remembering because it is time. Most Pleiadian star seeds wander through this world, believing that their aching sense of not enoughness comes from some flaw inside themselves. But what if it's actually the sacred longing to remember a power so luminous, so extraordinary, that it unsettles even those who watch from the higher realms? Here's the deeper truth. The darkness you face, the old patterns, doubts, and the aches of feeling invisible or small aren't proof of your weakness. They're barriers constructed by Gaia's amnesia grid to keep your most radiant divine abilities hidden until now. And that not enoughness you've carried like a quiet bruise is not a verdict. It's a compass. It's the inner ache that happens when a soul built for starlight tries to breathe inside a world that trained itself to forget. You didn't come here broken. You came here veiled. You didn't arrive lacking anything. You arrived under layers. Layers of density. Layers of programming. Layers of ancestral survival. Layers of collective fear, like a diamond wrapped in cloth. And told it was only ordinary stone. That sensation of being almost home, but not quite. The feeling that your spirit keeps reaching for something you can't name is the signature of remembrance. Trying to rise. It's the echo of a frequency your cells recognize even when your mind can't translate it. Scripture whispers something similar in human language. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Not because the darkness never shows up, but because darkness is never the author of your identity. Darkness is often the stage where your light becomes undeniable. The amnesia grid, call it distortion, forgetfulness, density, the hypnosis of separation, works like a fog over a mountain lake. The lake is still there, perfectly clear beneath. But until the fog lifts, you look down and think the water has vanished. That's what the grid does. It convinces you that your depth is gone when it's only hidden. It makes you measure your worth by what you can prove, what you can perform, what you can explain. Yet your true power was never meant to be proven to a skeptical world. It was meant to be embodied. An embodiment begins when you stop using your pain as evidence against yourself and start reading it as a signpost pointing to what you're here to reclaim. Many star seeds unconsciously carry the belief that fully embodying their power would sever their connection with Earth or draw energies that seek to suppress the crystalline codes awakening within, sometimes ancestral trauma or collective density attaches itself to your field, dimming the clarity of your heart and causing you to question whether your light even matters. And almost always the mind tells the tale that standing out in your cosmic remembrance might draw ridicule, envy, or isolation. This is one of the most subtle traps of the amnesia grid. It tries to frame your power as unsafe. It tries to make you believe that to be luminous is to be targeted, to be awake is to be alone, to be different is to be rejected. It teaches you to shrink before you even step forward. It makes you pre-edit your soul. It convinces you to speak softer than your truth, to dim your intuition, to apologize for your sensitivity, to call your knowing overthinking, to call your gifts wishful. And if you felt that old familiar fear, if I become fully myself, will I lose the people I love? Will I lose my place here? Understand that fear is not random. It is often the residue of earlier incarnations, earlier timelines, earlier moments when light was misunderstood, when healers were feared, when visionaries were mocked, when the heart-led were punished for refusing to conform. Even if you cannot consciously remember those lives, your nervous system can carry their echoes. That's why your awakening sometimes feels like you're walking uphill against an unseen wind. It isn't because you're weak. It's because you're breaking a pattern older than your current name. The ancestral trauma you carry may not be yours in origin, but it can be yours to alchemize. It can show up as hypervigilance, as people-pleasing, as waiting for permission, as the feeling that peace will be taken away the moment you relax. And collective density can cling like soot. News cycles, fear-based conversation, generational cynicism, the unspoken grief of humanity. All of it can settle on a sensitive field, the way smoke settles on curtains. If you're Pleiadian-coded, you often feel everything. Your empathy can become a doorway through which the world's heaviness tries to move in. So you start asking, am I too much? Am I too sensitive? Why do I feel things that others don't seem to notice? But sensitivity is not fragility. Sensitivity is instrumentation. It means you're designed to detect frequency. It means your heart was built like a tuning fork meant to resonate with truth. And yes, the mind will warn you of ridicule, envy, isolation. The mind has been trained by Earth's old systems to fear visibility. It will tell you it's safer to stay in the middle, to be reasonable, to keep your spiritual knowing private, to stay palatable. But your soul did not come to be palatable. Your soul came to be true. And the paradox is this: the earth doesn't lose you when you embody your light. Gaia recognizes you. The planet doesn't reject your luminosity. She has been waiting for it, because Gaia herself is in a process of remembering, and your awakening is part of her awakening. But hidden deep within your cellular memory, encoded before you arrived here, live the signatures of the seven sisters. Their frequency is unconditional reverence for who you truly are. When you hesitate to step forward in your remembrance, it's less about fear of failure and more ancient remembering that your full starber light has changed timelines before. There's a cosmic hush in the upper spheres, as if all await the moment when you finally say yes to yourself, dissolving the final layers of illusion and making a new kind of history. The signatures of the seven sisters are not just an idea. They are a living imprint. They are like luminous runes written into the waters of your body, into the lattice of your bones, into the quiet intelligence of your DNA. Sometimes you feel them when you look at the night sky, and something inside you softens in recognition, as if your heart leans forward toward the stars. Sometimes you feel them in music that makes you cry without explanation, in a sunrise that feels like a message, in the way certain words vibrate through your chest like a bell being struck. That is not sentimental. That is memory. It is the ancient language of frequency. The seven sisters carry a tone of unconditional reverence, meaning they do not revere you because you are perfect by human standards. They revere you because you are real, because you chose density, because you chose to bring light into form, because you chose to learn love inside limitation. And when you hesitate, it is often because some part of you knows how powerful you are, not in the egoic sense, in the cosmic sense, in the sense that when you become coherent, when your heart, mind, and energy field align, your presence itself becomes a timeline-altering force. You have shifted rooms just by entering them. You have stabilized others just by listening. You have softened conflict by holding a frequency people couldn't explain. You have carried peace into chaos like a lantern carried into a cave. And deep down, you know, if you fully embody what you are, you will not be able to pretend anymore. Old identities will fall away. Old relationships may be reconfigured. Old realities may not survive your truth. That's why the moment before awakening can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff, not because you are about to fall, but because you are about to fly. There is a cosmic hush because higher realms recognize thresholds. They recognize initiation. They recognize the sacred moment where a soul stops asking, "Am I allowed?" and begins declaring, "I am." The hush is not pressure. It is reverence. It is the pause of witness. The way all of life seems to hold its breath right before a seed breaks open and becomes a sprout. And when you finally say yes to yourself, it doesn't just change your mood. It changes your field. It changes your choices. It changes what you tolerate. It changes the energetic permissions you broadcast into reality. It changes what can find you, what can stay, what must leave. In human scripture, there's a line: "Be still and know that I am God." The stillness is not emptiness. It is the hush before knowing arrives. And your yes is that knowing taking form. The truth is your illumination, your ability to dissolve darkness, not only in your life but in the collective, is what both the guides on Alien and your Earth family silently yearn for. The awe that arises in spiritual and cosmic realms when a Pleiadian star seed fully claims their heart mission is the same awe you might feel looking back at your own journey, realizing you've always been prepared for this. It's not just about remembering, it's about activating what was always meant to astonish, because your illumination is not decorative. It's functional, it's medicine, it's architecture. It rebuilds what fear has torn down. It rewrites what trauma has carved into the psyche. It does not merely shine, it reorganizes. Think of darkness like cold, not a substance with its own life, but a condition that changes when warmth arrives. Your light is warmth. Your frequency is warmth. When you are coherent in love, when your nervous system is regulated, when your heart is open without self-abandoning, the density around you begins to loosen, not because you fight it, but because you out-vibrate it. Elsian guides and benevolent counsels do not admire you like a distant spectacle. Their awe is the recognition of alignment. It is the recognition of a soul fulfilling what it came to do. And on Earth, even if your family doesn't have spiritual language, there is still a silent yearning. People yearn for someone who is safe, someone who is present, someone who doesn't weaponize emotion, someone who can hold complexity without collapsing into cynicism, someone whose love isn't conditional. That is what your Earth family, blood family, chosen family, community, strangers you haven't met yet, yearns for, even if they never say it out loud. Your heart mission is not only cosmic, it's intimate. It shows up in conversations when you choose compassion over defense. It shows up in the way you bless your food, the way you speak to your inner child, the way you refuse to pass pain forward. The awe is not just because you can perceive beyond the veil. The awe is because you can love here. You can love in traffic, love through grief, love in financial stress, love while healing trauma, love while being misunderstood. That is the astonishment. Love becoming tangible in a world trained to distrust it. And when you look back at your own journey, the betrayals that refined you, the loneliness that taught you to listen inward, the failures that humbled the ego and strengthened the soul, you may realize you have been trained by life itself. Every delay taught patience. Every heartbreak taught discernment. Every season of darkness taught you how to walk by inner light. And now, remembering becomes activation. The moment you stop treating your gifts like a theory and start living as if they are real. There's a reason your heart led you here in this exact moment. What you're feeling is your Pleiadian family reaching through the veil to remind you. You're ready for the next wave of remembrance. The sacred Pleiadian guide for remembrance alongside the Pleiadian healing guide and special Pleiadian healing tracks were created to walk with you as you integrate these activations. They hold the crystalline codes and sound medicine your DNA has been waiting for. Check the first pinned comment below this video. They're calling to you now. Phase 1, dissolving the amnesia grid. For ages, your energy field carried subtle distortions, survival fears, abandonment wounds, obscurations about your worth that were never truly yours. To awaken, these fields must be lovingly released. Visualize the crystalline light of Alshan dissolving each layer of separation. Allow tears or sensations to move through as old programs leave, making space for the radiance you actually carry. This first phase is not glamorous, but it is holy. Dissolving the amnesia grid is like thawing out after a long winter where you forgot what warmth felt like. It can feel tender. It can feel raw. Because when distortions lift, sensation returns. When numbness breaks, you start to feel what you've been holding. Survival fears might look like constant urgency, the sense that you're always behind, always catching up, always about to lose something. Abandonment wounds might show up as overgiving, as trying to earn love, as staying too long where you are not honored. Obscurations about worth may sound like a voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" even when your heart is simply trying to breathe. And the most important truth here is the one you may have needed your whole life. Some of what you carry is not you. It is attachment. It is inheritance. It is imprint. It is the residue of living in a world that worships productivity over presence. So release must be loving, not violent, not self-punishing, not forced. Loving release means you do not shame yourself for having wounds. You do not treat your healing like a performance. You let the body lead. Visualizing Alshan's crystalline light is not escapism. It's coherence. You're calling in a frequency that your system recognizes as home. Imagine that light like a waterfall made of liquid diamonds, not cold but warm, warm as sunlight on skin. See it moving through the crown of your head, down the spine, through the shoulders where burdens are stored, through the throat where unspoken truth has tightened, into the heart where grief has been waiting, and further down into the belly where fear likes to nest. Let it move into the hips where survival memory hides, into the legs where you learn to run, into the feet that have walked through so much. As the light touches each layer, you may yawn, tremble, cry, feel heat, feel tingling, feel nothing at first. All of it is allowed. Tears are not weakness. They are water carrying old codes out of the system. Sensations are not proof that something is wrong. They are proof that something is moving. The grid dissolves not through force, but through presence. And as it dissolves, you might notice small miracles. A quieter mind, a softer jaw, a breath that finally reaches the belly, sleep that becomes deeper, intuition that becomes clearer, boundaries that become easier. In scripture, the pattern is echoed. Create in me a clean heart and renew a right spirit within me. Not a perfect spirit, a right spirit, an aligned spirit. This phase is the cleansing, the clearing, the return to rightness. Phase 2, activating the heart's divine intelligence. Beneath the stories and memories lives your original heart template, a living portal connected directly to the Pleiadian High Council. By softening into compassion for yourself and those around you, you begin to hear the soft song of the seven sisters through the chambers of your chest. Every beat is an invitation. Remember that your greatest power is the frequency of love itself. Here, self-recognition becomes an act of cosmic defiance against the density. The heart's divine intelligence is not sentiment. It is not naive. It is an ancient technology. It is the organizing principle of higher realms translated into a human organ. Your heart is not only a pump. It is a transmitter. It is a receiver. It is a gate. And beneath your personal history, the labels, the roles, the trauma responses, the coping strategies, there is an original template untouched, like a pristine blueprint held in a vault. The amnesia grid tries to convince you that you are only your experiences, only your Mistakes, only your pain, but the heart remembers what the mind forgot. Activating this intelligence often begins with compassion, and compassion is not indulgence. Compassion is the willingness to be with what is true without punishment. When you soften into compassion for yourself, you stop treating your healing like a courtroom and start treating it like a sanctuary. You begin to speak to your inner child the way the divine speaks in the quiet, with gentleness, with steadiness, with truth. You begin to look at others not as enemies or obstacles, but as souls, wearing their own wounds. This doesn't mean you allow harm, it means you stop feeding hatred. You stop participating in the old economy of judgment. And when you do that, the song of the seven sisters becomes audible, not as literal sound necessarily, but as a tonal shift. In your inner world, you may feel a sweetness in the chest, a warmth, a spaciousness. You may find yourself moved by simple things. You may notice that you can forgive without forgetting, that you can love without losing yourself. Each heartbeat becomes a drum in a cosmic ceremony, a reminder that love is not an emotion you wait for. It is a frequency you choose. In the densest places of Earth, choosing love is defiance. It is rebellion against the programs that taught you to harden. Self-recognition, truly seeing your own divinity without arrogance, without comparison, is one of the most radical acts you can commit in a world built on insecurity. The density wants you distracted, ashamed, split, constantly seeking. But when you recognize yourself, you stop feeding the machine. You become sovereign. And in that sovereignty, the heart opens like a flower turning toward a hidden sun. Phase 3, reclaiming your starborn gifts. Abilities like intuitive healing, telepathic compassion, conscious manifestation, and crystalline vision are not fantasies. They are remnants of mastery coded into your DNA. Through gentle daily practice, invite these gifts to show themselves in simple ways. A ripple of energy in your hands, a knowing in your dreams, a sudden sense of being held. Do not demand proof. Trust that each subtle shift is the weaving of your star memory into the earth plane. Reclaiming gifts is often quieter than people expect. The ego wants fireworks, the soul wants integration. Intuitive healing might show up first as you instinctively placing your hand on your own body and feeling relief, as if your palm becomes a warm compress of light. You may feel magnetism, tingling, pulsation. You may notice that when you breathe into a painful memory with kindness, the emotional charge begins to dissolve. That is healing. Telepathic compassion might arise as you suddenly understanding someone without them explaining, not as mind redating for entertainment, but as empathic clarity that helps you respond with wisdom. Conscious manifestation is not controlling life like a puppet master. It is aligning with the higher pattern and allowing reality to reorganize around coherence. It's the difference between forcing a door and walking through the door that opens when you become ready. Crystalline vision might appear as symbols in meditation, as geometric patterns behind closed eyes, as sudden insights that land whole and complete, as if downloaded rather than thought. It may also show up practically. You see the truth of a situation faster. You sense what is misaligned. You recognize what is real beneath what is said. That is vision. The key is gentleness. Daily practice doesn't need to be dramatic. It can be 5 minutes of hand-on heart breathing. It can be a glass of water blessed with intention. It can be speaking aloud, show me what I'm ready to see. It can be keeping a dream journal and honoring the language of the subconscious. It can be asking before sleep, Pleiadian family, bring me what serves my highest good and help me remember safely. Then you watch for subtle shifts, a coincidence that feels too exact, phrase you overhear that answers your question, a book that falls off a shelf, a stranger's kindness at the precise moment you were about to give up. Don't demand proof like a skeptic challenging the universe. Demanding proof is often a defense against disappointment. Instead, cultivate trust like a garden. Water it, tend it, let it grow. The gifts are not here to make you special. They are here to make you useful in love. The more you use them in simple ways, comforting, blessing, listening, calming, encouraging, the stronger they become. Because gifts grow where they are honored. Phase 4, becoming the dissolver of density. As you awaken, stagnant patterns and collective shadows may arise both within and around you. Instead of shrinking, breathe deeply. Let your heart's frequency expand on the exhale, dissolving cords of separation and sending crystalline currents outward. This, more than any action, is how you astonish the spiritual and cosmic witnesses. You become a living transmission that not only withstands darkness, but repatterns it into light. This is where many star seeds get confused, because awakening doesn't always feel like floating. Sometimes, awakening feels like everything you tried to avoid comes up for air. Stagnant patterns can surface like sediment in a glass of water when it's stirred. You might notice irritability, grief, old cravings, old fears, old memories. Collective shadows may also press in. People acting out, systems wobbling, chaos seeming louder. This doesn't mean you are failing. It often means you are becoming strong enough to face what once overwhelmed you, instead of shrinking. You breathe. Breath is one of the simplest divine technologies on Earth. Inhale, receive, exhale, release. When you exhale with heart frequency, you are not just moving air. You are broadcasting coherence. Imagine cords of separation, those invisible lines of resentment, guilt, obligation, fear, loosening and falling away like threads dissolving in water. You do not need to cut them with anger. You can dissolve them with love and clarity. Crystalline currents moving outward can be visualized like a web of light extending from your heart into your home, your neighborhood, your city, your ancestors, your descendants. Not as a burden, but as a blessing. You become a living transmission, meaning your life becomes the message. Your regulated nervous system becomes a lighthouse in a storm. Your compassion becomes an anchor. Your boundaries become a clean line that teaches others what respect feels like. This is how you repattern darkness into light, by refusing to respond from the old program. When someone brings fear, you bring presence. When someone brings blame, you bring discernment. When the world offers despair, you offer meaning. It is not passive, it is powerful. In Scripture it is said, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Not by wrestling darkness on its terms, but by holding a frequency darkness cannot digest. This is astonishing because it is rare, and it is what you came here to do. Phase 5, stepping into divine recognition. There comes a moment when the patterns of old no longer define you, and your energy field resounds with a tone. Recognized across timelines, the Seven Sisters, the Pleiadian High Council, even the consciousness of Gaia herself, bear witness as you choose to stand in the radiance of your remembrance. Occurrences align, synchronicities accelerate, and the presence of your star family becomes tangibly felt. They offer not just support, but celebration. A soul-level ovation for the love you anchor in this world. Divine recognition is not a trophy handed to the ego, it's resonance. It's when your field becomes so coherent that reality starts answering you more quickly. It's when you stop repeating the same lesson in different costumes. It's when you can feel in your body that something has shifted for good. The patterns of old no longer define you, meaning your history stops being your prison and becomes your testimony. The tone recognized across timelines is like a song that suddenly plays clearly after static clears. Your soul emits a signature frequency, and when you embody it, you begin to meet the doors that were always meant for you. Synchronicities are not random. They are the language of alignment. Numbers, dreams, animal messengers, repeated phrases, meetings that feel destined, opportunities that arrive without force. These are the winks of a universe responding to your yes. You may begin to sense your star family more tangibly, a pressure of love in the room, a feeling of being watched over, a sudden peace when you ask for guidance, a warmth around the shoulders like a cloak. You may feel them most in liminal moments, just before sleep, just after waking, during meditation, during tears. during laughter that surprises you, and the celebration is real, not because you became better than others, but because you remembered what you are. It is like a homecoming. Gaia bears witness too. People forget that Earth is conscious. She is not a stage. She is a being. When you choose radiance, you harmonize with her upward spiral. Your feet on her soil, your gratitude, your prayers, your kindness. To your body, all of it sends signals into the planetary field. Divine. Recognition is the moment you realize you are never alone, only learning how to perceive companionship in dimensions beyond the visible. And when you feel that soul-level ovation, let it in. Let yourself be celebrated. Many star seeds can give love easily, but